Hello, welcome in the new video with a new point, the Russian Revolution. We are looking in this part, the Russian Revolution. In this video, we will study about the economy and society of Russia. Point 2.2, Economy and Society. I hope you remember when we were studying the French Revolution, that time also we have studied the economy and society of the French. Then we moved toward the learning the revolution. To take place any revolution, to take place any change in any country, some backgrounds are there. One another immediate reasons are also there, but the immediate reason is not enough to take the revolution. Before that, some incidents, some situation, some background, what was there, that we have to study here. About Russia also, we are going to see what was the economy and society of the Russia. The economy and the society was divided in two parts. When we look about the economy was depend on the agriculture and industries. The society was the peasant and the industrial workers. So in this way, we will see what was the economy, what was the society of the Russia before revolution. The Russian population that is about 85% is depend on the agriculture. It means this country was agriculturalist country. It is completely depend on the agriculture. At the beginning of the 20th century, this is the beginning of the 20th century, the vast majority of Russia's people were agriculturists. The proportion is here about 85% of Russian Empire's population earned their living from agriculture. Their earning was getting from the agriculture. This proportion was higher than in most European countries. The proportion is not small. 85% means this is very high. And if compared to the other European countries, it was the high. For instance, the examples are given in France and Germany. The proportion was between 40% and 50%. In the empire, cultivators produced for the market as well as for their own needs. The cultivators, those 85% contributing, they are cultivating for the own needs, and after completing these own needs, they were producing for the market also. So the Russia was a major exporter of the grain. More production was getting from the agriculture. That is why the Russia was able to export highly the grains. This is the agriculturist country. Now we will know how it is turned toward the industries. The industries were being set up, which was the most private property of the industrialist. The industries were set up by its were the private property of the industrialist. Industries was found in pockets. Industries were found in a pockets. It means the industries were in a very less numbers. Prominent industries areas were St. Petersburg and Moscow. Whatever the industries were there, it were occurred in the St. Petersburg and the Moscow cities. Craftsmen undertook much of the production. The production was taken place by the craftsmen largely, but large factories existed alongside craft workshop. The large factories also existed alongside the craft workshop. Many factories were set up in 1890s when Russian railway network was expanded. When the Russian railway expanded, due to this expansion, many factories also came in the Russia, and it is expanded. And foreign investment in industry increased due to the expansion of the railway. The foreign capitalists invested money in the Russian industries. Coal production doubled. The production of coal doubled. Coal is needing for the energy in the industry. So the production of coal is doubled. Iron and steel output quadrupled. 4 times increased. The production of iron and steel increased 4 times. So the need of coal and iron and steel is more. It means the industries were expanding. By the 90s, in some areas, factory workers and craftsmen were almost equal in number. By the end of 90s, in the earlier period, craftsmen were more, but now the industry workers or the factory workers also increased, their number became equal. This explains how the industries expanded in the Russia. Most industries was the private property of industrialists. The industries were owned by the individual, so it was the private property of the individuals, capitalist. The industries were owned by the individuals, but it were controlled by the government, supervised by the government. Government supervised large factories to ensure why there was supervision to look the minimum wages and limited hours of work. Whether the workers are getting minimum wages and what is the condition of working hours, that is supervised by the government, but it's were owned by the capitalist. But factory inspectors could not prevent rules being broken. The rules were broken and it were not prevented, controlled, stopped by the factory inspectors, government inspectors. In craft units and small workshops, the working day was sometimes 15 hours. In the workshop and the craft unit, the working hours were near 15 hours. Compared with 10 or 12 hours in factories, accommodation varied from rooms to dormitories. The living condition was also very different from room to dormitory. It was not good. It was also poor. So this was the living issues of the workers about the factories. Workers were a divided social goods. There were divisions among the workers according to their work and the skills. But whenever there was need to strike to help each other, these people were getting unite and going on the strike. Some had link strong links with the villages from which they come. Some workers were having strong relations with the villages from where they were coming. Others had settled in cities permanently. Some settled in the cities. Workers were divided by skills. A worker of St. Petersburg recalled metal workers considered themselves aristocrats among other workers. These metal workers considering as they were the aristocrats, means having high level. Their occupation demanded more training and skill because their work was needing training and the skilled. It was the skilled job. That is why they were thinking they were the aristocrats. Women made up 31% of the factory labor force by 1914. Near of the 31% labor is contributed by the women by the 1914, but they were paid less than men, but payment they were getting less than the men. Divisions among workers showed themselves in a dress and manners too. The divisions were shown through the dress and their manners were also different. Some workers formed associations to help members in times of unemployment or financial hardship, but such associations were very few. Some workers formed associations to help each other in the distress time, but these were very less. Despite divisions, workers did unite to strike work when they disagree with employers about dismissal or work conditions. Maybe divisions were there, then also these people were remaining unitedly whenever there was need. These strikes took place frequently in the textile industry during 1896 and 1897 and the metal industry during 1902. In this period, the strikes were taken place again and again, frequently again and again. What was the situation of the workers we have seen in the earlier part? Now we will move toward the next part, that is the agriculture. What was in the industries we have seen. Now to the agri, what was that we will see. In the countryside, peasants cultivated. Countryside in the rural region. Countryside means in the rural region, in the villages. Peasants cultivated most of the land. The land was cultivated by the peasants. Peasants, farmers, but it's were owned by the crown, Orthodox Church, and the nobility. The property owners were different. The peasants were just only cultivating. Like workers, peasants were divided. What divisions were in the workers, in the same way, there were divisions among the peasants also. They were divided. They were also deeply religious. These people, the peasants, were religious, but except in a few cases, they had no respect for the nobility. These peasants were not having respect for the nobility. Nobles got their power and position through their services to the Tsar, not through local popularity. The nobles were getting power and position because they were servicing to the Tsar, not due to the local popularity. There was no local support to these nobles. This was unlike France, where during the French Revolution in Brittany, peasants respected nobles and fought for them. In Russia, it is very different than the French. In French, there was a respect to the nobles. But in Russia, peasants wanted the land of the nobles to be given to them. The peasants were interested to get the land which they were cultivating. Frequently, they refused to pay rent and even murdered landlords. These peasants were refused to pay the rent to the landlords, and many times the landlords were murdered. In 1902, this occurred in a large scale in the South Russia, and in 1905 such incidents took place all over Russia. So here we can understand the peasant also unhappy with the situation, with the structure, with the economy what running in the Russia. We have seen here how the industries were there, how the workers were unhappy, how the capitalists were earning the money. On the other hand, also we have seen in the countryside peasants were cultivating the land, but it's were owned by someone else. That is why the peasantry also unhappy in the Russia. Russian peasants were the only peasants community which pooled their land and their government divided. This the nature of Russian peasant was different. These people were coming together, distributing the land periodically, and whatever commune was there, the profit was there. It was divided on the base of individual family. Russian peasants were different from other European peasants in another way. They pooled their land together periodically. Periodically, they were pulling this, bringing this land together, and their common, their profit was divided in according to the needs of individual's family. Whatever needs of one family, in that way, the dividend was given. So here we have studied the nature of Russian workers and peasantry. Here we studied the economy and society of the Russia. Now, in the next part, we will look the socialism in Russia, how the socialism inculcated in the Russia.